Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto x Momo x Kyoka Jiro x Mina? Part 2. If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. With Class 1A. Naruto activated his Sage quirk and looked down the stairs and scanned the group of villains, using his quirk to feel out who was the strongest, before he paused, as he spotted the bulky villain that had black skin and a beak on his face, feeling that he was different from the other villains, as he seemed to be less lifelike. But that's not what was the most concerning to Naruto. What was the most concerning was the aura that was coming off the villain with hands all over his body. "What's up?" Aizawa asked, noticing that Naruto had frozen up for a moment. "My quirk can tell me what people are feeling, thanks to me being able to feel their auras, and the most dangerous are those two," Naruto said, as he pointed at the big villain with black skin and the one with hands all over his body. "How does that help, Whiskers?" Bakugo asked with a raised eyebrow. "The one with black skin, while alive, doesn't have any emotions, as he's like a drone barely alive, and the one with the hands all over him, he feels nothing but hate and the want to destroy and kill," Naruto said, frowning after he paused for a moment. Aizawa nodded at this, before he turned to 13. "Keep the students safe," he said, as he put his goggles on and approached the stairs. "Right," 13 said, as she nodded at this. "Wait, Sensei, they outnumber you," Izuku said, as he looked down at the group of villains, who were coming up towards them, all grinning and laughing sinisterly as they did. "You can't be a pro if you only have one trick," Aizawa said before he took off towards the villains, ready to attack them. "Ha! That idiot's just attacking us without a plan." One of the villains laughed, as he held up his hands, which had what looked like gun tips on the ends of his fingers. But when nothing happened, his eyes widened in shock, before Aizawa slammed his fist into his face, sending him flying. "What the hell?" one of the female villains yelled, as her hair moved to attack Aizawa, before her hair suddenly dropped and the teacher's capture cloth grabbed her, before she was pulled into a nearby villain. "Ah, I get it. The goggles let him erase who he wants, without them knowing who he's erasing, so they all panic while he picks them off." "Very clever," Kurama said with a grin when he saw this. "So, does this mean you're gonna actually call him Sensei?" Will asked, as she raised an eyebrow at the kitsune. "Hell no," Kurama said with a scoff at this. "Excuse me, where is All Might?" a male voice from behind everyone asked. Everyone turned around to look at the doors and saw what looked like an entire body made out of a dark purple mist, save for his eyes, which were glowing yellow, along with a suit and a metal brace he was wearing under his suit. "Everyone, get back!" 13 said, as she held her hands out, as the tips of the gloves opened up, so she could use her quirk. "Ah, 13. I do believe All Might was supposed to be here today. So I'll ask again, where is he?" the dark purple mist asked. "Isn't it manners to introduce yourself first? If you're gonna wear a suit, then at least pretend you have manners," Will said, as she glared at the villain. "Introductions first? Very well then, you may call me Kurojiri and we are the League of Villains. We have come here to kill All Might. Has the schedule changed today? Oh, and don't bother trying to call for help, as we have already cut off communications," Kurojiri said, as he looked at everyone. This got looks of surprise from some of the class, as they all started to look nervous. "Funk you, you miss bastard!" Bakugo yelled, as he launched himself at the villain. "Yeah, what he said," Kurama bellowed, as he pounced at the villain, ready to fight. Kurojiri said nothing to this, before the mist around him surged and engulfed a bunch of them, and when the mist cleared, half of the students were gone. "Hey, where did Van go?" Zero yelled out, as he took note of who was missing. Uzumaki, Kurama, Midoriya, Ajiri, Tokoemi, Todoroki, Yayorozu, Kyoka, Kirishima, Shoji, Toru, Koda and Bakugo are gone too, Sato said, as he listed off who was missing. "What did you do to them?" Mina yelled at the villain. "I decided to lower your numbers, so I sent some of your fellow students to other parts of the area, where my fellow villains will be waiting to greet them," Kyoka Jiro said with a firm tone. 13 kept her guard up, as she tried to think up a plan of action. With Will. In the rockslide area of the USJ Will, Momo and Kyoka were surrounded by a group of villains, who had quickly surrounded them, after they had been sent here by Kyoka Jiro. "When we get out of here, remind me to have Kurama leave a present in Bakugo's desk," Will said with an annoyed look on her face. "Noted," Kyoka said, as Momo created a machete out of her arm and handed it to her, before she made a steel bow staff appear. "Do you have a weapon preference, Van Nam?" Momo asked, as she took a battle-ready stance. "Nah, I don't need that." "Okay, who wants a spanking first?" Will yelled out, as she glared at the villains, as she hopped up and down a bit, lumbering herself up. "Do you really think that you three can take us all on?" one of the villains asked with a confident smirk, along with his fellow villains. "Oh, I don't need the help. So don't blink," Will said with a grin, as her body started to surge with electricity, before in a flash she was gone. "Huh! Hey, where did she go?" one of the villains asked in surprise, as he looked around for Will. "Great, a teleporter and a coward Herc," one of the other villains was saying, before he hunched over, as Will appeared in front of him and jammed her charged-up fist into his gut, causing him to keel over, and considering he was a big muscular guy, this was impressive. "Sorry, but I saw an opening and took it," Will asked with a smirk, as she held up her fist and clenched it, as the villain fell over. "You bitch!" some of the other villains yelled, as they charged at Will. But Will was already moving again and started to flash around and started attacking the group of villains in a flash of chaos. "Whoa! I didn't think she could actually fight like this with her speed," Kyoka said, as she raised an eyebrow at this, finding it to be quite impressive. "She's also going for weak points too, so they stay down," Momo said, as she took note that Will was going for vital areas that would subdue the enemy, but not kill them. As Will finished off the last villain, Kyoka and Momo didn't notice the ground moving behind them. "Bah, all of these guys are obviously just street punks, if all they have are numbers," Will said with a scoff, as she chopped the final villain in the back of the neck, sending them to the ground, knocked out. "Nice job. Now let's get out of here," Kyoka was saying, before what looked like a bulky male villain burst out from the ground behind her and grabbed her from behind. "Kyoka!" Momo yelled, as she turned to the new villain. "Don't move! If I see one spark, then I'll snap her neck," the villain yelled, as he looked at Will and held Kyoka by her head for emphasis. Will scowled at this, but didn't move, as he knew even if she was fast, it would still take at least a few seconds to get to him, and it would be too risky to try it. The villain smirked at this, but as this was happening, one of Kyoka's ear jacks slowly made its way behind her, and when it got close to his ear, it quickly jammed itself inside it. "Gaha!" the villain yelled, as he grabbed his ear in pain, dropping Kyoka. "Take the shot!" Kyoka yelled, as she took cover along with Momo behind some rocks. "You think you can take me on? I'm an electric quirk user too, so I can take whatever you can dish out, kid!" the villain bellowed, as he charged at Will. But Will just smirked, as she extended her wings and hovered into the air and started to surge with electricity. "Is that a fact? Well then, let's see how high your tolerance is," Will yelled, as the lightning around her surged and formed into the face of a dragon, which roared loudly. "Ah shit," the villain said, as the attack flew down at him. With Kurama. Meanwhile, with Kurama, he was in the city area. And he was surrounded by what looked like ice sculptures in the shape of different people in all kinds of shapes, though their faces weren't covered, which showed that they were actually villains, who had attacked him, Shoji, Toru and Todoroki when they arrived, but Todoroki had instantly attacked them with his ice. Geez, you guys really drew the short straw on this one. Heck me, 6 arms and the invisible chick didn't even get to do anything, Kurama said, as he looked around at the frozen villains, before he scratched his ear a bit. I see, can't feel my body, one of the villains stuttered out, as Todoroki approached him and put his hand around his uncovered face. If you want to lower the risk of frostbite, you will tell me what your plan is, no, Todoroki said with a cold tone, as he made frost come off his hand, as it got closer to the villain's face, causing the villains to start to panic. As this was happening, a massive blast of lightning was heard going off, which was seen flying into the air from the rock slide area nearby. What was that? Shoji asked, as he looked in the direction it happened. That was Will, who was most likely getting pissed because one of these guys' buddies pulled a stupid move, Kurama said with a smirk, before he approached the frozen villain Todoroki was talking to. How about you, Popsicle? You can either talk or I can make you talk. You think you're the good cop? You're just some animal freak. The villain stuttered out, as he glared at Kurama. This caused Kurama to scowl, before he used his tails to push Todoroki aside, before he grew to the size of a polar bear, before he shoved the frozen villain to the ground. A freak, huh? I'll show you a freak, when I burn you slowly and make you beg for death. Kurama bellowed out, as he bared his fangs at the villain, while smoke and some embers came out of his mouth. This caused the downed villain and the other frozen villains to start to panic in fear, as while Todoroki was scary, Kurama was terrifying. You guys want to talk now? Shoji asked, as he raised an eyebrow at the villains. I give. Just call him off. The villain on the ground yelled in a panic. Talk quick. I'm due for a snack. Kurama barked out, as he got in the villain's face. We're just low-rank thugs that this guy hired as help for his plan to kill All Might. The villain yelled in a panic. What's the name of the man who hired you? Toru asked curiously. The guy with the portals is called Kyoka Jiro, and he works for that freak with the hands all over him. He's in charge. Go attack him. The villain yelled in a panic, as Kurama got closer. How do you plan to kill All Might? Todoroki asked calmly. The big guy with the boss. He's specially made to kill him. The villain yelled out. Kurama growled at this, as he looked back towards where he knew the others were, before he took off running towards where the real battle was. Hey, wait for us, Toru yelled out, as she ran after him, with the others following them. With Naruto. Naruto looked around and saw that he, Izuku and Tsuyu were on what looked like a half-sunken boat in the middle of a lake, which was surrounded by water villains. Okay, we need to make a plan before these guys attack us, Naruto said, as he activated his sage quirk, so he could keep track of every move the villains would make. I'm just curious why they haven't already attacked us, Tsuyu said, as she looked over the side cautiously. They most likely don't know if we're really strong or not, so they're obviously waiting for us to make the first move, Izuku said, as he rubbed his chin in thought. Agreed. So, me and Izuku both have strength-type quirks, which might come in handy if they get close. What about you, Azuri? Naruto asked, as he looked at the only girl with them. I said call me Tsuyu, Tsuyu said, as she gave Naruto a look that while it didn't look all that different, somehow it made Naruto pause, like when Will glared at him. Right, Tsuyu, Naruto said with a nervous chuckle. Anyway, I can do anything that a frog can do. I'm a fast swimmer, I can stretch my tongue really far, I can hop long distances, stick to walls and secret mucus which has 3 different, controlled effects itch-inducing, scent masking and paralysis. Oh, and I can also eject/wash my own stomach too, Azuri said, as she looked slightly embarrassed at the last part. Well, being a fast swimmer is good, Izuku said, as he smiled at her. True, but I don't know how good that'll be against some of these guys, Naruto said, as he looked over the side slightly, seeing that some of the villains had various shark quirks and other types with sharp-looking teeth and claws. Izuku rubbed his chin, as he began trying to think of a plan. Tsuyu, can your mucus work underwater on people, and if so, for how long? He asked her. Tsuyu tilted her head to the side slightly, as she placed a finger on her chin, while sticking her tongue out a little bit. She probably can't produce enough to make a difference against a big group. What we need is a distraction, so that we can quickly get away, Naruto said, as he kept up his sage senses and felt that the villains were getting impatient. Izuku thought about this for a few moments, before he looked at the water and the gathered villains, before he looked at Naruto and quickly told him his plan. It's a good idea, Izuku. We just need to piss them off, so that they don't see it coming, Naruto said with a nod and a smile. How are we going to do that? Karo Tsuyu asked curiously, as she tilted her head to the side. Hey! If you brats don't come out, then we're coming in after you! A villain yelled out. If none of you D-list losers haven't volunteered yet, then I don't see you doing anything anytime soon, Naruto yelled out loudly. D-list? One of the villains yelled out, obviously upset at this insult at them. That's mean, D-list, at least make the wanted list, Tsuyu said with a slight smirk, seeing what Naruto was up to. That's it! One of the villains yelled, as he used his water quirk to slice at the ship, slicing it in half. As this happened, Izuku quickly jumped out towards the gathered villains, with his hand out in a flicking motion. Ha! The weak one thinks he can take us! One of the villains yelled with a laugh, as his fellow villains laughed. Smash! Izuku yelled, as he flicked his fingers and sent a massive shockwave down at them, hitting the water and making a massive explosion, which made a whirlpool. What the hell? Some of the villains yelled out, as they all were sent flying. Tsuyu, get Izuku far away! Naruto yelled, as he jumped up into the air. I'm on it! Tsuyu yelled, as she grabbed Izuku with her tongue and booked it away from the area, leaving Naruto to hover a bit in the air, thanks to him manipulating some air around him. That one can fly? One of the villains yelled out, as they all tried to make sense of this, as the water started to collide after dispersing. That's not all I can do, Naruto said, as his eyes narrowed, as his hands started to flash with electricity, and the sounds of birds chirping were heard. Oh shit! One of the villains yelled in a panic, seeing the electricity attack charging and forming into a spear, but it was too late to react. Chidori's spear! Naruto yelled, as he threw the spear down into the water, which quickly spread through the water and electrocuted all of the villains. Bzzzzzztt. Garaha! The villains all yelled in pain, as they were all electrocuted. After a few moments, the attack ended and smoke started to come off the water, as the villains all floated in the water, knocked out. Meanwhile, Tsuyu and Izuku were watching this from a nearby rock formation that the frog girl had made it to. Wow, his quirk gives him a lot of variety, Izuku said, before wincing in pain, thanks to his 2 broken fingers. Are they dead? Tsuyu asked, as she looked at the villains floating in the water, while Naruto made his way over to them. No, that was enough to knock them out. Now let's get back to the others, Naruto said, as he shook his head at this. Tsuyu and Izuku both nodded at this, as they both swam after Naruto, who walked on the water while crouching, as they approached the center of the USJ. As they approached the shore, they took a look at what was happening and saw the bulky villain with black skin, along with the man with hands all over his body. These were Nomu and Tamura. And currently, Tamura was fighting Aizawa, and when he placed his palm on his elbow, the skin slowly started to decay away. Careful, Tamura said with an audible grin from behind the hand on his face. Aizawa quickly jumped back at this, while wincing slightly, as he reactivated his quirk and erased Tamura's power. Ah, I get it now. You can only erase 1 quirk at a time, and the amount of time you can keep it up gets shorter the more you use it, Tamura said, as he looked at Aizawa, while scratching his neck. Shit, he's observant, Naruto said with a scowl on his face. But it would be a pain to pick you off slowly, like this, Tamura said with a bored tone, as Nomu was quickly behind Aizawa and grabbed him, before slamming him face down into the ground. Mr. Aizawa Izuku said in a panic, as he tried to move, but Naruto blocked his way. You and Tsuyu should get back to the others at the front gate. Try to see if you can get out of here and get help, Naruto said firmly. What about you? Tsuyu asked curiously, as she looked at the blonde. Before Naruto could respond, Kurojiri appeared next to Tamura. Sir, one of the students got out and will get to the school quickly. We probably only have minutes before they send pros here, Kurojiri said. But I'm just starting to have fun. And All Might's not here, Tamura said. It's still too risky, Kurojiri said. Fine, but I'm still going to leave a body or two for All Might to find, Tamura said, before his gaze turned to where Naruto, Izuku and Tsuyu were. As he did this, Naruto's sage quirk flared up, as he glared at Tamura, as he felt his killer intent and he flared up his own. This caused Tsuyu to pause, as she felt her animal instincts to start feeling both fear, but some comfort as well, knowing that Naruto was here. This caused Nomu to look up and quickly move in front of Tamura, as if he felt the need to protect him. Oh? I think Nomu feels threatened by you, Kid, Tamura said with an amused tone upon seeing this. Good, cause he should be, Naruto said, as he stood up on the water and walked onto the shore, blocking the way to Izuku and Tsuyu. You look familiar, Tamura said, as he walked from behind Nomu and started to scratch at his neck a bit, as he racked his mind for where he had seen Naruto before. Naruto Uzumaki, him and two others made the news for saving the water hose heroes from the villain Muscular, Kurojiri said, as he remembered the news report. Ah yes, now I remember you. Usually, vigilantes get arrested, though I suppose the so-called heroes decided you and your friends were special enough to come to this school, Tamura said with an annoyed tone. Naruto kept his eyes on Tamura, as he kept his sage aura activated. You're annoying me. Nomu killed that one, Tamura said, as he continued to scratch his neck. The Nomu gave a loud roar and quickly ran towards Naruto with its fist raised, who quickly jumped to the side, avoiding the attack, causing the Nomu's punch to smash into the ground and make a massive crater. Naruto didn't have much time to react, before the Nomu burst out of the kicked-up dust and charged at him again. Before a burst of lightning slammed down into the Nomu, revealing Will, who appeared behind the Nomu, slamming what looked like sharp needles into the Nomu's exposed brain. The Nomu roared in pain at this, as Will started to electrocute the Nomu, which, thanks to the metal spike she had in his brain, was hurting him a lot. Hey, you could have left it alive for me to fight, as I only got to fight weaklings. Kurama yelled out, as he ran over. He's still alive, you moron! Will yelled, as the Nomu started to thrash around, trying to get her off him. Will, get off. He's as strong as All Might. Naruto yelled out, as he knew if Nomu got a hold of her then, that would be it for her. Before Will could react, the thrashing Nomu grabbed her leg and yanked her off him and held her upside down, as his body smoked after her attack, which began quickly healing. Not a bad idea for an attack, but what kind of a name for a girl is Will? Is it supposed to be short for something? Tamura asked curiously. Seeing as she's American, I'm going to assume it's short for Wilma, Kurojiri said with an even tone. Funk you! Will shouted, as she started to summon more electricity, shocking the Nomu again. But she yelled in pain, as the Nomu crushed her leg in his hand. Will! Naruto yelled out seeing this. Before the Nomu could continue to attack, Kurama roared loudly, as he grew to the size of a very large bear and tackled the Nomu, causing him to drop Will. Why not try picking on someone closer to you in species, asshole? Kurama yelled out, as he began to claw and bite the Nomu. Naruto quickly ran to Will and caught her in his arms. Are you okay? Naruto asked, before he looked at her crushed leg. I think if you kiss it better, it might make the pain go away, Will said with a grin. Naruto chuckled a bit at this, before he saw Izuku and Tsuyu approaching. Get her out of here, Naruto said, as he handed her to his fellow students. Tsuyu nodded at this, and as she took her, unseen to her, Tamura had ran at them and had his hand out, ready to grab at the frog girl. Smash! Izuku yelled, as he blocked the way to Tsuyu and threw a punch at Tamura. But this did nothing, as the Nomu had gotten in the way, blocking the way and taking the punch to his stomach, which did nothing to him. As the scratches and bites on his body quickly healed up, his hand even grew back, as Kurama had mangled it with his fangs. Izuku jumped back after this, and after frowning at the fact that his attack did nothing, he saw that his arm wasn't broken and looked shocked at this. You a fan of All Might with that punch? The Nomu was made to fight All Might, so none of you have a chance, Tamura said, as he walked into view from behind Nomu. You are slipping, if he's not interested in you, Naruto said to Kurama, as he ran over to his side. Funking asshole has a healing factor, Kurama growled out in annoyance. Well, what about doing something that he can't heal from? Naruto asked. You're wasting your time, blonde. The Nomu has both a shock absorption quirk and a healing factor, along with his impressive strength. Most pros couldn't handle him, let alone a bunch of students, who just started, Tamura said with a proud tone. Naruto scowled at this, as he knew the villain had a point. But before he could respond, boom! There was an explosion back at the entrance to the USJ. Never fear, for I am here! All Might yelled out, as he appeared at the top of the staircase with a very angry look on his face, as he saw what was happening. Oh, somebody's in trouble, Kurama said with a smirk and a sing-song tone at seeing the number one hero, while Tamura had a smile on his face behind the hand on his face. USJ. All Might walked down the main steps towards where Naruto and the other students had been confronting Tamura and the Nomu, along with the other villains. Finally, the final boss is here, Tamura said gleefully, as he looked at All Might, while scratching his neck. Oh my god, he uses gamer lingo? Please let me kick his ass, Kurama said, as he looked at Naruto. Don't worry, my students, you have nothing to worry about. I will deal with these villains now, All Might said, as he walked down the stairs. Hey, you don't stand a chance against all of us, one of the remaining villains was saying with a smug grin, as he and his fellow villains moved to attack the number one hero, before in a burst of speed, All Might ran past them with his arms out. Before all the villains fell over, knocked out. Oh, he's good. I could barely follow that, Naruto said with a grin seeing this, while Kurama's mouth was hanging open in surprise. We should get Will and Mr. Aizawa to safety, Tsuyu said, as she and Izuku lifted Aizawa and had him rest his arms over their shoulders, so they could carry him. Right. Kurama, you watch our backs, Naruto said, as he lifted Will gently into his arms, before he led the way. You got it. You three better come with us, or you will just be dead weight for him to worry about if you stay, Kurama said with a nod, before he yelled at Bakugo, Todoroki and Kirishima. Who are you calling dead weight? Don't make me kick your ass and then drop your carcass off in Korea town, Bakugo yelled, as he turned to glare at the animal quirk user. The funk you say to me, you yappy little shit? Kurama yelled in a rage. Hey, focus you idiots! Naruto yelled after them, as they quickly made their way to the stairs, while All Might confronted Tamura and the Nomu. Kurama and Bakugo both growled at this, as they both reluctantly followed Naruto and the others. Soon, they made it up to the top of the stairs, where the rest of the class that hadn't been separated were still gathered. Uzumaki, Van Nam, Ajiri, Kurama, Bakugo, Kirishima, Todoroki, Midoriya, thank goodness you're okay, 13 said, as she rested on the floor, with the back of her space suit destroyed, while some of the other students watched over the space hero. Wow, who kicked your ass? Kurama was asking, before Tsuyu's tongue slapped the back of his head. I'll be fine. What about all of you? 13 asked, as Kota and Sato helped her sit up. We're all fine, except for the fairy. She was hurt by that freak with the beak, Bakugo said, as he gestured to Will, who Naruto was laying down on the floor gently. I'll remember that explosion, boy, Will said with a wince of pain from her crushed leg. What did you call me, Wilma? Bakugo yelled out. I'll rip your heart out with a rusty spoon, hey, let me go! Will yelled, as she attempted to attack Bakugo, but was stopped by Kurama grabbing her with his tails. Wilma? Mina asked Naruto curiously at this. It's her first name. Technically, Will is a nickname, Naruto said with a sigh at his girlfriend's reaction. Yeah, this psycho hates her first name, and when you use it, well, you get this, hey. No biting, Kurama said with an annoyed tone, before he yelled, as Will bit down on one of his tails. Why would she hate her name? I think it's pretty, Mina said, as she raised an eyebrow in confusion at this. Yell that name and think of a cartoon caveman, Naruto said with a sigh. Ha! Oh, that's the best. Bakugo laughed at this, after a few moments of thought. Will growled at this, as some more sparks started to fly from her hair. But before anything else could happen, the front doors to the USJ opened. I have returned with backup, Ida yelled, as he and the teachers entered the USJ. Said teachers were Present Mike, Midnight, Ectoplasm, Cementos, Snipe, Power Loader, and finally, the principal himself, Niza. Is everyone okay? Snipe asked, as he got his guns ready. Most of us are okay. Will is hurt though and needs medical attention, Naruto said, as he stepped forward. And All Might is already dealing with the villains, Kirishima said, as he pointed down the stairs. Before any of the heroes could respond, a massive crashing sound was heard down below, as All Might and Momo were clashing in a flurry of punches, as the number one hero attempted to overwhelm the monster. And eventually, Plus Ultra! All Might yelled out, as he slammed his fist into the gut of Momo, which seemed to do nothing for a moment, before he was sent flying into the roof of the USJ for a moment, before the roof itself exploded, as the villain was sent flying. Huh. Guess number one hero does mean something after all, Kurama said, as he slightly chuckled, impressed at this show of power. It looks like the other villains are not feeling confident now, Naruto said, as he noticed that Kyoka Jiro was making a portal for Tamura. Right. Okay, leave this to all of us, Cementos said, as the teachers all stepped forward towards the stairs, along with the other pro heroes. Snipe quickly started to fire at Tamura, but while he did hit him in the legs, he still was able to flee through Kyoka Jiro's portal, which quickly faded as soon as the villain made it through. Naruto's eyes narrowed at this, as he didn't like that a villain with the emotional state that Tamura had been able to get away. Wow, so much for loyalty, Mina said with a frown, as she saw all the other villains that were left behind. Obviously they are just street punks that the freak with the hands was able to lure over, with promises of the big guy being able to kill All Might, Kurama said with a scoff at this. Naruto nodded at this, as the teachers started to gather up the defeated villains. Sometime later. It was later and the class was now in the main building of UA to be looked over by Recovery Girl and getting questioned by the police, while the captured villains were being taken away, along with the gnome that was found in a crater, which was acting quite docile. Currently, Naruto and Kurama were in Recovery Girl's office, while Will was in a bed, being looked over by the healing hero. My, and I thought young Midoriya was reckless. You're lucky that you still have your leg at all, young lady, Recovery Girl said, as she looked over Will, after she had used her quirk to heal her leg. Hey, blame that freak with the hands and his beak-faced minion, ugh, why am I so tired now? Will said, as she tried to stand up, before she quickly sat back down on the bed, as she had gotten quite tired and dizzy. Of course you did. My quirk doesn't just heal you magically, it makes you heal yourself with your own energy, and after the wounds you just healed, you will be resting here for the night, recovery girl said, as she looked at Will with a firm look on her face. Oh come on, I'm fine, Will was saying, as she attempted to get up again, before Naruto gently pushed her back into her bed. Just rest, Naruto said with a firm tone, as he sat down on the bed. Yeah, stop being as stubborn, Kurama was saying, before he was cut off. Who are you calling stubborn? Asked Chuer. Will yelled. Hey, I had an itch, Kurama yelled in a rage, as he jumped at Will, before Naruto grabbed him by the back of his neck. Will, just relax and rest for the night, Naruto said, as he threw Kurama over his shoulder, causing him to go flying out the door. Babe, I'm fine, Will was saying, before she stopped, as Naruto grabbed her hand and gently held it in his own hand. For me? Naruto asked, as he held her hand. Fine. You know, that's not fair, you being sweet to me like that, Will said with a sigh of defeat. Naruto smiled at this, before he leaned forward and kissed Will on the forehead, making her smile at him, as she laid down in her bed. Okay, Mr. Uzumaki, you should let her rest now. And don't worry, she's in good hands, recovery girl said, as she lightly chuckled at the couple. Naruto nodded at this, as he left the nurse's office after waving at Will. Is Van Am going to be okay? Mina asked, getting Naruto's attention, as the rest of Class 1A approached him. Don't worry, Red's gonna be just fine. She's made of tougher stuff, Kurama said, as he scratched his ear. Since when do you show respect to anyone? Ida asked, as he adjusted his glasses, while turning to look at the fox. Hey, I respect those who earn it, nerd boy, Kurama said, as he stopped scratching his ear and stretched a bit. So that's me, Will, your dad and All Might, Naruto said, as he held up fingers for each person he listed. Who says I respect that smiling loon? Kurama asked, as he looked at the blonde with a raised eyebrow. Oh please, you don't compliment people who can fight easily, Naruto said, as he shook his head, as the students started to walk down the hall. Yeah. Plus, that Nomu guy was giving you trouble, before All Might showed up, Bakugo said with a scoff. I did more than you, Sparky, Kurama yelled at the explosion user. I took out more villains than you. You just let the ice user do all the work, Bakugo yelled. Which of you told him? Come forward, Kurama yelled, as he looked at Todoroki, Toru and Shuji. As everyone walked down the hallway, Naruto noticed Toru was whistling innocently, as she tried to avoid Kurama's eyesight. Relax, he's all talk, Naruto whispered to Toru. Are you sure? Toru asked, as she moved close to Naruto, so that they wouldn't be overhead. I said, come forward. Was it you, sugar boy? Kurama yelled, as he approached Sato with a look of fury. Don't worry, I won't sell you out. But just to be safe, stay close to me, Naruto said with a sheepish chuckle. Thanks, Uzumaki, Toru said with a sigh of relief. Call me Naruto, Naruto said with a smile at the invisible girl. Toru smiled hearing this, as she and Naruto followed the rest of the class. The next day. It was the next day and Naruto was in class, along with the rest of the class. So, how's the leg, Van Am? Momo asked Will, as the rest of the class greeted her, as they hadn't seen her, unlike Naruto and Kurama. I'm fully healed now. And I told you to call me Will, Momo, and that goes for the rest of you. I'm not into formalities, Will said with a smile, before she looked at the rest of the class. Yeah, whatever you say, Wilma, Bakugo was saying, as he walked past Will's desk to his own desk, before the irate redhead swiftly went to slug him, but he blocked with his forearm, before glaring at Will, who just glared back at him, as sparks appeared in her hair. Will, Naruto said with a shake of his head. Fine. You're lucky, Sparky, Will said with a scoff, as she went back to her desk. Bakugo scoffed at this, as he went to his desk. But as he sat down, he lightly winced, before he looked at the forearm he had blocked Will's attack with and saw that he had a big bruise on it, causing his eyes to narrow, before he glared at Will, now taking her seriously. Soon, Aizawa walked into the classroom, with bandages covering his entire body, leaving his eyes free. Are you okay, Teach?" Kirishima asked with a raised eyebrow. "The mummy escaped from the tomb," Kurama said with a snicker, getting some laughs from the other students. "I'm still recovering from the fight with Nomu, thanks for your concern," Aizawa said with a flat tone, as he looked at Kurama. "Oh, walk it off, Mr. Caterpillar. You are still alive, aren't you?" Kurama asked with a roll of his eyes. "Kurama, show some respect," Ida yelled at his fellow student, chopping his arm as he did. "Who says I don't respect him? He took on Handboy and his beak-faced minion and didn't even flinch when he got his ass kicked," Kurama said, as he lightly glared at Ida. "Okay, you lot, for the next week, you all will be preparing for the sports festival, so I hope that you'll all do your best, as many heroes will be on the lookout for potential sidekicks," Aizawa said, deciding to change the subject. "Sports festival?" Will asked curiously, as the class all got excited at this. "Yeah, it's to replace the Olympics that happened before quirks were revealed," Ochako said with a wide grin. "It's also where we get to show off for the world, Mon Sherry," Yuga said with a smile, as he flipped his hair. "Don't call me that," Will said with a flat tone of voice. "From what I hear, if you do well at this sports festival, you might get the attention of pro heroes," Naruto said, as he looked at his classmates. "Now that's what I'm talking about, a chance to show off," Kurama said with a grin hearing this. "Oh great, just what we need, you making a spectacle of yourself," Kyoka said with a flat tone of voice. "At least I can stand out, plain Jane ga," Kurama was saying, before he was zapped by Will's lightning, making him yell, before he fell over, his body smoking. "I was gonna do that myself, but thanks," Kyoka said with a grin, as one of her earphone jacks moved about. "Feel free to get your hits in while he's down," Will said with a scowl at the kitsune. "Okay, let's go train in the training ground for this sports festival. We may as well try to give it our all," Naruto said as he stood up, seeing as Aizawa was giving them a free period to train however they wanted. "Sounds good to me. Hey girls, let's go train up a bit. We can't let the guys take all the attention," Will said with a grin, before she looked at the other girls. "Do you have any advice for training?" Momo asked curiously. "You bet. Naruto helped me train, why do you think I'm as good as I am now?" Will asked with a grin. This caused the class to look at Naruto. "Oh geez," Naruto said, as he slightly chuckled nervously at the looks he was getting. "Hey Uzumaki, you think you can give me some advice?" Kirishima asked with a grin, as he approached Naruto. "Me too. I could definitely use some pointers," Zero said as he smiled. I could use some help too," Izuka said, as he quickly stepped forward. Okay. If anyone wants advice on training, feel free to ask. But let's all get out to the training ground first," Naruto said, as he led the way to the classroom doors. But as he opened the door, their way was blocked by what looked like a crowd of other students, who were all trying to look inside the class. "Is that them?" one of the students asked. "Yeah, I think so," a female student said with a nod. "They have the pet with a quirk. So yeah, it's Class 1A," a third student said. "Pet? Who the funk are you calling a?" Kurama yelled, as he stepped forward, before Naruto stepped on him, stopping him from trying to attack. "Who are all of you?" Momo asked, as she stepped forward. "Indeed, state your business with us," Lita said with a firm tone. "Isn't it obvious? These extras are scoping us out, to see if we are real competition, after what happened at the USJ," Bakugo said with a scoff, as he stepped forward. "Extras? Who are you calling extras?" some of the students yelled. I didn't stutter. You wanted a preview of the competition. Well, I'm the one to beat this year, as I'm looking to take first place, by crushing all of you extras, Bakugo said with a scowl at the clamoring students. Haha, good luck with that, as Class 1B is better than all of you, Monoma said with a beepy look on his face, as he came to the front. Eh? You say something? I couldn't understand you, with all that bullshit in your mouth, Kurama said with an annoyed tone. This caused Monoma to face fault, while Bakugo burst out laughing upon hearing this. You know, you're starting to grow on me, Fluffy, Bakugo said with a slight grin at Kurama. Good to know. Now can someone scrape this idiot off the floor? We have some training to do, Kurama said before he yelled at the students, while he pointed at Monoma with his tails. This is who makes it into the hero course. A pair of foul mouths, who are antagonistic with everyone. A teen boy with messy indigo hair and sunken-in eyes said with a scowl. Sorry about them. They are both socially retarded, Will said, as she stepped forward. Bakugo yelled upon hearing this. At least I'm not a degenerate, looking to make a har MPPPPH. Kurama was yelling, before Naruto grabbed his snout, silencing him. Let me be clear, the sports festival isn't just for you in the hero course. If any of us in the other courses end up outdoing you, then there is a high chance that we could end up replacing you, the boy with sunken-in eyes said, as he looked at the class. You came here to declare war on us? Izuku asked, surprised at this. Indeed. My name is Hitoshi Shinso. Be sure to remember it, the now named Shinso said, as he walked away from the classroom. Okay, the rest of you should clear out. We have training to do, Ida dade with a firm tone. Yeah, before I give the fluffy one a free pass, Will said, as she crossed her arms and glared at the students. Kurama smiled madly at this, as he looked at the students, before he grew to the size of a wolf for emphasis. This caused the students to instantly scramble to get away from the class. Ha! Bunch of punks! And you all want to be heroes? Kurama yelled after them, before he started to cackle madly. Was that really necessary, Venom? Ida asked Will, as he looked at her with a look of disapproval. What? We needed a way out, and now we have one, Will said with a shrug. There are better ways than threatening your fellow students, Ida said with a frown. Whatever, narc. Okay, ladies, let's go train, Will said with a dismissive wave of her hand, before she looked at her fellow girls and led them out of the classroom. Narc? Ida stuttered out, surprised at the nickname that Will had just given him. Naruto slightly sweat dropped at this, as he also walked out of the classroom and headed for the locker room, along with the other boys in his class. Hey, Uzumaki? Izuku asked, as he approached Naruto. What's up, Izuku? Naruto asked, as he entered the locker room, before he turned to look at his classmate. Well, after observing you using your quirk, I noticed that it's similar to my own, and I was wondering if Izuku was saying, before he trailed off. You want me to help you get some control, so you don't cripple yourself? Naruto asked, as he raised an eyebrow. Yes, please, Izuku said, as he bowed his head to Naruto. Okay. But on one condition, Naruto said with a nod. Izuku looked up and looked at Naruto at this. You call me Naruto. I prefer my friends call me that, Naruto said with a grin, as he held out his fist for Izuku. Sure thing, Naruto, Izuku said with a grin, as he tapped his own fist against Naruto's. Great, the class clown is now going to be bugging me with dumb-ass questions, Kurama grumbled, as he walked past the two teens and into the locker room. Don't worry, he already knows you're a maniac, Naruto said with a grin at the fox. Damn straight, Kurama yelled with a laugh at this. Naruto shook his head at this, as he and Izuku went into the locker room, so they could get ready to train for the upcoming sports festival. A few weeks later, after Class 1A had been challenged by the other students, the UA stadium was now filling up with civilians and pro heroes, ready to watch the UA Sports Festival. Currently, the males of Class 1A were all in the locker room, getting ready to go out for the opening ceremony of the festival. Why the hell do I have to wear this bullshit and not my hero uniform? Kurama yelled out, as he shook himself a bit, as he was wearing what looked like a dog's sweater version of the gym uniform that everyone else was wearing. Because it's expected of all students to wear them, Ida said with a firm tone, as he adjusted his glasses. Yeah, and because if we wore our hero uniforms, then we would instantly stand out from all the extras, Bakugo said with a scoff. I think it's also so that it's a fair fight for everyone, Tokoemi said with a firm tone. So I have to look like a jackass, because of those morons that would be lucky to last past the first event? Kurama yelled out in a rage. To be fair, you always look like a jackass, even if you don't have your hero uniform, Ojiro said with a sigh at the animal. You want some of this, Cobra Kai? Kurama yelled. You call that an insult? Kirishima asked with a chuckle at Kurama. Kurama, relax. You don't need your hero outfit to stand out anyway, Naruto said, as he shook his head. True, Kurama said with a nod at this. Okay everyone, we are heading out. Now remember, you are representing our school, so try to act in a professional manner, Ida said to the class. This caused everyone to look at Bakugo and Kurama. I'm feeling called out, and yet, I don't give a funk, Kurama said with a deadpan tone of voice. Ha! Bakugo said, as he laughed at this crack from the animal quirk user. Oh geez, they are bonding, Sato said, groaning at this. We're all doomed, Siro said, as he shook his head, as they all headed for the door. Midoriya, Todoroki said with a firm tone, as everyone stood at the ready in their blue uniforms. Yeah, what is it, Todoroki? Izuku asked curiously. After observing everyone in class since school started, I have found that the students that are in the way of my goal to be number one are you and Uzumaki. So I'm telling you both this now, I will be destroying all of you, during this, Todoroki said with a firm tone, as he walked out of the locker room. Izuku looked surprised at this, as he hadn't been expecting this from his classmate. Naruto frowned at this, as he had been trying to get Todoroki to join in the training he had been giving to the others for the past 2 weeks, but he has refused every time he offered. Oi, what's that supposed to mean? Are you saying that I'm not a threat, Zuko? Kurama yelled after Todoroki. This resulted in Bakugo bursting out laughing, as he held his forehead. Look, let's just get out there and remember everyone. Plus Ultra, Naruto said, as he looked at everyone. Right. Everyone said, as they all walked out of the locker room. Stadium. Out in the stadium, the stands were all packed, as everyone was waiting for the sports festival to start, and soon, the first years were announced to come out, as they were first to go. And here they are, folks. You know them. You've heard what happened to them weeks ago at USJ. It's Class 1A. Present Mike was heard yelling, as the class started coming out. That's the class that was attacked, right? One of the pros in the stands asked curiously. Yup. And it looks like the rumor about them actually having an animal quirk user like Nizu was true too, another pro hero said, as Kurama was seen walking out into the field. A dog, huh? Interesting, a third pro hero said, as they rubbed their chin in thought. I'm a kitsune. Get it right, before I rip your arm off and beat you with the wet end. Kurama was heard yelling up at the stands before Will smacked him in the back of the head. This got looks of surprise from the people in the stands except from one female pro hero, who looked like a humanoid rabbit. She was laughing quite loudly at this. Once all of the students were on the field, Midnight walked onto the stage in the middle of the field, with a microphone headset on the side of her head. And here comes the Dami Mommy, who calls herself a hero ga. Cut the crap, Kurama said with a scoff at seeing the pro heroine, before Will stomped on his tail. Thank you, Miss Van Dam, and hello everyone. I'll be the referee for the first years this year, and anyone who misbehaves will be punished, Midnight said with a smile, as she looked at the crowd, while cracking the whip in her hand on the ground. Question: what if a certain redhead is into that ga? Okay. Kurama was asking, before Will once again stomped hard on his tail. Anyway, our first event will be an obstacle course, which will start here and lead around the course shown on the screen behind me, while quirks are allowed to be used. Only 42 students will be able to make it to the next event, Midnight said, as the massive monitor behind her showed an overhead view of the stadium, and what looked like a race track outside. So Eraserhead, who should we be on the lookout for during the first event? Present Mike asked his co-presenter, who was still covered in bandages. Stay out of the way of the maniac on 4 legs, as he bites, Eraserhead said simply. You're a damn liar, Caterpillar Man! Kurama yelled out, as the students all laughed at this. As this was happening, the door nearby opened and the students all approached the starting line. Looks like a tight fit, Naruto thought, as he saw that the tunnel, while big, definitely wouldn't let all of the students out at once. He then looked at Will, who nodded at him, as she had noticed this too. Ready? Go! Midnight yelled out, as she cracked her whip, as the screen showed the word go. This resulted in the students quickly running forward. But before anyone could get any further, the tunnel was suddenly covered in ice. What the hell? One of the general studies students yelled, as he looked down at his feet. Relax, it won't leave any permanent damage, Todoroki said, as he ran forward into the tunnel. But as he did this, several flashes of light ran past him, getting his attention. Those being Naruto, who was using his Sage Aura to up his speed, Will, who was using her lightning to supercharge her speed, so that she could speed on ahead. But what surprised everyone was that keeping up with the 2 students was Izuku, whose body was glowing and sparking with power, as he ran to catch up with Naruto and Will. Looks like that full cow thing is a success, eh? Will asked, as she looked back at Izuku, who was easily keeping up with her and Naruto. Cowling, Miss Van Dam, hey! Izuku said as he kept up with them, before he jumped slightly to the side, to avoid a thrown spark from Will. I said to call me Will? After all, we're your friends and equals, so have some confidence, damn it! Will yelled at Izuku. Hey! Get back here, Deku! You damn nerd! Bakugo yelled, as he used his explosions to propel himself after them, while the rest of Class 1A were already loose and quickly going after them. Mostly thanks to Kurama freeing them, thanks to his fire, before he grabbed Toru, Sato, Koda, Shoji and Tokoimi with his tails and ran after Naruto and Will. Wait for me, damn it! I'm carrying the extras past the bullshit first trap! Kurama yelled, as he ran after his class, while other students tried to get free from the ice. Since when are you helpful? Naruto asked, as he looked back at his animal friend. These guys haven't crossed me yet. So they get a gimme, until we're past the tunnel. While the invisible one is so pathetic, I figured that I may as well help her, so you don't waste time doing it, Kurama said, as he quickly caught up with Naruto and Will, as they approached the end of the tunnel. Hey! I'm not useless! Tori yelled, as she waved her arms in defiance. Before Kurama dropped her to the ground, along with her fellow students, as Kurama, Naruto and Will made it out of the tunnel. Then prove it, Invisible Streak, Kurama was yelling, before he was cut off, as he stopped running along with the rest of the class, as he saw that their path was blocked. Said path was blocked by what looked like several giant zero-pointer robots from the entrance exam, along with some smaller robots. And the students have come to the first obstacle of the event. Giant robots present, Mike yelled out. I wonder how they'll each get past them, Eraserhead said. Oh no, how scary, Kurama said with a flat tone of voice, as Will made her wings appear and flew into the air. She can fly? Monoma yelled in surprise at seeing this. Not just that, Mina said with a grin, as Will approached the 0-pointers. And as she approached them, she snapped her fingers, sending sparks at the 0-pointers, which caused their red eyes to turn blue. Hey, are you guys okay with letting me and the blonde pass? Will asked with a grin at the robots. The robots all nodded at this, as they moved aside, as Naruto ran past the robots. Perfect, Van Damme. Everyone quickly, Ida was yelling before. Everyone else, you can give the business, Will said with a grin, as she flew after Naruto, as she waved at the robots. What the hell? Everyone yelled, as the robots blocked their paths forward. Sorry, but this is a race. Can't make it easy for you all, so earn it, Will yelled, as she flew after Naruto. You suck, Kyoka yelled after the redhead, as the robots began to attack the students. Kurama roared in a rage at this, before he ran at the robots, as he jumped up one of its arms and ran up it. Once he'd approached the head, he blasted it in the head with his flame breath. As this was happening, Momo lifted her shirt and after a few moments, she formed what looked like a cannon from her stomach, which she then proceeded to fire at the 0-pointers, while other students faced off against the smaller robots. Todoroki glared up at the robots, as he raised his hand at one and completely froze it. Nice one, Todoroki! Denki yelled out with a grin, at the fact that the ice user had effectively stopped all the robots for them. Careful, I froze them off balance on purpose, Todoroki said, as he ran ahead, while the 0-pointers fell forward, blocking the path of the other students. Seeing this, Izuka quickly jumped around the falling ice shards and debris that was sent flying, as he ran after Todoroki. You're not getting past me, Deku! You either, icy hot! Bakugo yelled, as he used his explosions to try and catch up with them. Hey, on your left, Pomeranian! Kurama yelled, as he ran past Bakugo, laughing as he did so. Who are you calling a Pomeranian? Bakugo roared out at the fox, as he used more explosions to go speed ahead. Soon the students in the lead made it to what looked like large stone pillars connected by tight ropes. And the leaders of this race have reached the second obstacle, the fall. How are they going to get past this one? President Mike yelled out. This is impressive. They actually went all out for this, Naruto said, as he looked at the cliffside. Yeah, let's make the guys who put this together cry, Will said with a grin, as she started using her wings to fly over the cliffs. Naruto sighed at this, as he too used his enhanced body to jump from pillar to pillar. But as he did this, a figure flew past him, getting his and Will's attention. Said figure was a female with pink dreadlock hair, wearing the school gym uniform. She also wore what looked like a pair of Hoover boots. Ha ha! I told you all my babies could get the job done. The girl laughed, as she easily used the cords on her suit to pull her from pillar to pillar, easily pulling her to the other side of the chasm. What the hell? Will asked, raising an eyebrow at this. Must be someone from the support class, Naruto said, as he landed on a pillar and chuckled slightly. Want me to slow her down? Will asked, as she held up her hand and made a spark of electricity. Nah, let her have her moment, Naruto said, as he jumped off in pursuit of the support student. Softy, but that's fine. I don't have it in me to sabotage someone that cute, Will said with a grin, as she flew after Naruto. Naruto's sweat dropped at this, as he continued to make his way across the chasm, finally making it across. Naruto and Will began running once more, with other students running with them, when they saw the stadium right in front of them. But before they could celebrate, boom! An explosion of some kind went off, causing pink smoke to appear. What the hell was that? One of the students yelled out in shock. Looks like someone triggered the final obstacle, the minefield. President Mike yelled. You maniacs actually set up a minefield? Will yelled out in surprise. Oh, relax, Wilma. It's not gonna kill you, but it will probably stun you, Present Mike said with a scoff. What did you call me, you pathetic excuse for a radio host? Will bellowed, as her hair started to spark, as she paused in her flying across the field. It's in your file, babe, Naruto said, as he used his sage mode to enhance his senses to find all the mines, before he started to jump across the field, taking care to land in between the mines, which were shown by bumps in the ground. Before Will could respond to this though. Boom! A massive explosion went off behind them, which sent Izuku flying through the sky and past everyone on the field and landing on the other side. And Izuku Midoriya has jumped into first place. What an interesting way to use the mines! Was that even legal? Present Mike yelled, before he looked at Eraserhead curiously. It was, Eraserhead said with a simple nod. Izuku quickly sped off into the entrance of the stadium after landing on the ground. Naruto blinked in surprise at this, before he smiled and took off after Izuku. Damn you, Deku! Bakugo yelled out, as he sped off after Izuku, while Todoroki froze over the field and took off after Izuku too, which gave the other students a path forward. Soon, Izuku made it into the stadium, and a second later, Naruto joined him, along with Bakugo, Todoroki, Will and the rest of their class. And Izuku Midoriya takes first place. Naruto Uzumaki comes in second, Bakugo takes third, Todoroki is in third, and Wilma is fourth. Hey! Present Mike said, causing everyone in the audience to cheer at this, before a bolt of lightning hit the announcer box. Call me that again, and I'll up the voltage, Will yelled out, as she landed on the ground and made her wings disappear. How did you rank so low, Kurama? Naruto asked Kurama curiously. I got slowed down. Bullshit chasm and mines, Kurama said with a growl. He got slowed down, helping us across the chasm. Ga. Uncle! Uncle! Denki was saying, before Kurama's tail grabbed him by his neck in warning. Way to be a softy, furball, Bakugo said with a scoff at the fox. Say that after I kick your teeth in, you mother MPPPH. Kurama was yelling, before Naruto grabbed his mouth, silencing him. Now that we have our top 42 students, we can go on to the next event, Cavalry Battle, Midnight yelled. What do you suppose this event will be like? Izuku asked Naruto curiously, who simply shrugged in response. Now, the rules of this are simple. You must form teams of 2 to 4. Point values are assigned to each student depending on where they finished in the race. So last place will be 5 points, then the next is 10 points, and so on, Midnight said, as the placements from the obstacle race appeared on the screen, along with the points everyone had, while Izuku showed question marks. Now, for the cavalry battle, you will be using these numbers to give each of you a value, which the head of your team will be wearing as headbands, Present Mike said, as the giant monitor showed an image of the cavalry battle and how it would require a team of students holding up one student, with headbands around their neck or on their head. So the more high-value people on your team, the more of a chance you have to continue on to the next event, Ida said, as he nodded at this. Yeah, and have more chances to lose it all, if you all get taken out by dropping the head of the team, Naruto said, as he saw the image on the monitor, showing that if you drop the head of your team, you instantly lose. Or losing all of your headbands, Will said with a nod. So, since I came first, that means I'll be worth, Izuku said, as he did some quick calculations in his head, before he was cut off. Don't waste your time, Broccoli Head, Kurama said, as he used his tail to turn Izuku's head to look at the display with a smirk. And Izuku froze, as he saw that next to his name was the number 10 million. This resulted in a lot of the other students turning their eyes to Izuku, as they all started to make plans on going after him. I'll remember you as the broccoli kid, who mumbled to himself constantly, Kurama said with a snicker at seeing this, while Naruto sighed at the obvious plot by the teachers, to show how the one who's number 1 always has it the roughest. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comment section how was the story, And also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Bye bye.